Welcome back, Astro listeners, to Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is Medium Monk, and I have our shining star of the zodiac on the line. She's Star Lady. Hi, Star Lady.
Hello, Medium Monk.
And we all know Star Lady manages the Evolutionary Astrology Network, who continues to provide the finest EA course materials for certification, as well as a lot of other things that you can go take a peek at on our website at www.evolutionaryastrology.net. Always call 605-348-5111 to schedule your session, your reading with Kim Marie, and maybe ask Medium Monk some questions about that EA course. I will announce that we have completed a recent flurry of forecasting webinars. Of course, the Aries Libra nodal shift and Venus Leo retrograde, they're both posted now on the forecasting webinars page of our site. And oh, by the way, we include those in our Astro Library, too, under Section 3 of Relationships Forecasting et al. And so I have them posted there, too, if you prefer to have a subscription-based service to all those wonderful hundreds and hundreds of hours of material in the Astro Library. Okay, so with that, I'll welcome you to the new moon and turn it over to Kim Marie, Star Lady.
All right. Thank you, Medium Monk. Well, we had somewhat cloudy skies last night, so we did not get to see the northern lights. I think it turned out to be a little southern north of us. So I got a good night's sleep. Didn't get up to see them. I was really looking forward to it, but it just didn't work out in our busy world. And then when it kind of looked to be cloudy and north, I'm like, I'm going to get a good night's sleep. This is a busy second half of the month. We are recording this a few days before the new moon of Cancer at 25 degrees. And by the way, with the nodal axis shift into Aries Libra, I do go a bit into Sun square the nodes, which is going to be July, I got my notes here, July 22nd, everything at 29 degrees, cardinal signs. And that's going to be followed by July 28th with Pluto making an exact square to the nodes with everything at 29 degrees cardinal. So we definitely have the tail end of the cardinal archetype activated. The nodes just moving in there on July 17th for a year and a half into North Node Aries, South Node Libra, and of course Sun in Cancer, Pluto in Capricorn. So it's kind of like a revolving door. You know, cardinal modalities are 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or initiate to insecurity and then step back to security. Well, the nodes move backwards. So the nodes moving into 30 degrees Aries, Libra, 29 degrees, Aries, Libra. They're just starting their cycle of throwing off all kinds of old relating patterns to reach deeper and better equality as well as a relationship with ourselves. Go into a lot of detail on it in the forecasting webinar. However, Pluto's finishing up Capricorn. Sun's finishing up Cancer. So they're trying to resolve things. So it's a start, stop, beginnings and endings, revolving door, whether you're coming or going. And one of the things that I mentioned in the Venus and Leo retrograde webinar is that throughout the course of the rest of July, moving into August and September, this fall, the planets are in a splay pattern. In other words, they're just splayed all over the circle. There you have all of the slower moving outer planets from Capricorn to Taurus, okay, just shy of 120 degrees. Then now you have the inner planets moving to the opposite side of the chart and going, you know, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde coming up here soon. It's just kind of like the planets are all over the circle. And to me, I was like, why does it just feel so busy? Well, the planets are all over the place, shaking everything up all over the place. And so, as above, so below, the heavens are just reflecting and harmonizing with us. And so taking those moments to really find some time to just breathe a little bit, rest a little bit. New moon of Cancer at 25 degrees, honoring your emotional body, because the South Node in Libra brings up all of our relationship energies, not just intimate, but family and work and friends and everything all over the place. And that North Node in Aries has got us, I just want to be alone. And we can get a little feisty if we don't get to be alone. So taking some deep, deep breaths right now as Sun finishes up the last few days of Cancer. It can be triggering emotional patterns with family because the Sun actually opposes Pluto July 21st at that 29 degrees, Cancer, Capricorn. So if there are familial patterns coming up, do your best to breathe through them. Count to 10, count to 100, or somebody says, count backwards from 100 and see if that can calm you down before you open mouth, etc. The Sun ingresses into Leo July 22nd, and the EA mantra is, I align my will with divine will. I align my will with divine will. And that is a major theme for the Venus retrograde cycle in Leo from July 22nd until September 3rd. Venus goes retrograde at 28.5 degrees Leo, all the way back to 12 degrees. Venus in Leo going retrograde can create a lot of feisty, fiery, me energy. And of course, it's going to be in orb of trines to that North Node in Aries. And so the energy that can come up in this second half of July especially can, have us very self-focused, maybe necessarily so, but that self-focus is to go inward and focus. It's not necessarily there to have conversations and talking and arguments with everybody. See if you can calm down that personal energy. By the way, Medium Monk, I just remembered, aren't you the one taking your mom to your doctor's appointment today? We made plans for our afternoon, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we can't do that. We're going to have to go separate, babe. Sorry, podcast people, but that just popped in, and I'm like, oh, dear. Okay, do not forget Mom's doctor's appointment.
Thank you, Star Lady.
You're welcome, Medium Monk.
Talking about personalizing a podcast.
Well, I was just thinking about the fiery, feisty energy, and I want to do what I want, and I got all these obligations. Everybody else South Node Libra, and I want to do what I want, and I got all these obligations. That's our world. And so how best are you balancing it? And as Venus turns stationary or retrograde, July 22nd, and it stands still for about 2 days. So Venus is kind of standing still in the sky, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. That can be a little bit of a feisty time, a busy time, and it does require us to go over to that Aquarius polarity. Step back, detach, objectify, try to see the larger picture and how we are meant to be going through all of these relationships in our world. And by the way, let me look at this on my calendar. The middle of next week to the next weekend, meaning that 19th, 20th, 21st, that's when we'll start to see the sliver of the moon in the evening sky. Moon will make its last conjunction to Venus as an evening star. Mars is just up above them if it's dark enough to see it. So next weekend is a great time period to be looking in the heavens for Mars, Venus, and that sliver of moon. If you, again, dark enough skies, clear enough skies to be working your way outdoors and looking at them. One of the base notes going on, that's kind of what I call those slower moving aspects sometimes. Jupiter is going to make the first of 3 waxing semi-squares to Neptune. You remember April of 22, Venus made a conjunction, it's got Venus on my brain. Jupiter made a conjunction to Neptune one time, about 24 degrees Pisces. Well, Jupiter has now made it 1/8 of the way around the circle. It's going to go from new phase to crescent phase with Neptune. Really have us searching for the evolution of our belief systems. Jupiter is going to be at about 12.5 Taurus. Neptune is retrograde at 27.5 Pisces. Now, this is the first of 3 waxing semi-squares, and so we're going to get 2 more to come around later this winter and even into next spring. So what are you searching for right now? Jupiter, conscious beliefs. Neptune, deepest levels of unconscious beliefs. Neptune in one of its last retrograde cycles fully in Pisces. So how do we look at any disillusionment, any letdowns, anything that just doesn't work in our world anymore? Neptune wants to do a deep pondering, and here's Jupiter and Taurus. Now, Jupiter may want to be reaching for security as much as possible. And yet, we're having to be able to adapt and move, because that 45-degree mark, crescent phase, we've gathered as much as we are going to about new ideas around our deepest beliefs. And as we move into that crescent phase of Jupiter and Taurus to Neptune, we have to ground those beliefs. We have to make them real. But as these 2 planets make that 45-degree aspect to each other 3 times over the course of the next 8-9 months, it is an opportunity to say, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. What other adjustments do I need to make with how I perceive my world and how I want to be in my world? And of course, the Venus retrograde in Leo is going to be part of that, because Venus retrograde is reviewing values in general, throwing off old value systems and opening up to the new values that work for us. Retrograde in Leo. And when Venus turns stationary retrograde, it is in a yod formation with Neptune in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn. Venus retrograde makes aspects to Neptune, doesn't make any to Pluto, but they're within just a few degrees of that yod, with Venus being what they call the finger of God in the yod. In other words, Venus is a waxing in conjunct to Neptune, a waning one to Pluto. Venus has the adjustment. Neptune and Pluto are in their sextile with each other. They're in harmony. Venus in Leo has to adjust. So again, there's a lot of me, Leonian focus. Not just with Venus, but the sun's, monthly passage through Leo. There's a lot of me focus, but me has to go over to the Aquarian polarity and broaden up. We don't live in isolation. And we have to look at, where do I fit into the larger picture of the world? What are my responsibilities, Pluto and Capricorn? And how am I deepening my understanding of the world to feel in harmony with it? Neptune Pisces retrograde. So this is part of those Venetian adjustments the second half of the month as it turns retrograde. And oh, by the way, the day after Venus turns stationary retrograde, Chiron, the day after, Chiron goes stationary retrograde at 20 degrees Aries. And it's got its 5-month retrograde cycle. Hold on. I'm leaping forward to see when Chiron goes stationary direct. December 26th, at Christmas time, 15.5 Aries. So Chiron's going to go retrograde for 4 or 5 degrees, and it will add to some of the feistiness in the heavens and the skies. And we want to watch any perceptions of re-imprinting, any sense of woundedness. And with Venus retrograde and Chiron retrograde in 2 fire signs, Leo and Aries, the perceptions of not being acknowledged or feeling wounded are going to come as if we're not being understood by the rest of the world. We'll recognize each of us are existing in the rest of the world that way, feeling you don't understand me. So here's where we got to take some deep breaths. Get in touch with the emotional body right now so that we can carry that emotional centeredness with us through the end of the month with all the deep, fiery, feisty planets going on. And of course, Pluto making that square to the nodes. Me versus you, and we want to control that in order to feel secure. And it's the inner self-empowerment that allows us to ebb and flow through the relationships however we need to. Right after Pluto finally makes that exact square to the nodes, by the way, it's still going to be an orb for a while, okay? Because Pluto retrograde is reversing through the zodiac just like the nodes, along with it. But the tail end of the month, July 28th, Mercury finishes up in Leo and goes into Virgo for 2 months. So the second half of July, we have Mercury, Venus, and Sun all in Leo. Yes, take time to play. We definitely are looking forward to it. But Mercury's going to have a 1 conjunction to Venus, July 27th, 28 degrees, okay? Mercury's ahead of Venus now, and Ball's further behind. But they'll have their little conjunction. Maybe might be a nice party time. My sister's birthday, which we can celebrate. But then Mercury going into Virgo, 2 months. July 28th through October 4th. We have another Mercury retrograde in the Earth signs coming up. Mercury is going to go retrograde August 23rd, 22 Virgo through September 15th, 8 degrees Virgo. So there will be a little Virgo application to all the energy and excitement out there in our world coming up. But it's not going to come for us until more along that August time period. All right, Medium Monk. Were you writing notes fast enough?
I'm multitasking, so yeah, I got it going here pretty good. But we were looking forward to the last half of July because it's travel time for us, but it's also pretty powerful, I guess, introverted time, so to speak, with this setup, kind of new moon Cancer and all the Leo energy. So,
well, that new moon Cancer, I feel that way for a little bit, but believe me, it's going to be more feisty energy than introverted. we maybe might want to kind of go introverted a little bit, but there's enough energy going on that's not really necessarily what may happen. So it's going to be balancing inward, outward energy.
Sounds like a good time to be out at the lake.
Oh, it is. We're going to do our annual boating day with our nieces. It's a treasured time because preteens, we're falling down on the priority ladder, Uncle Media Monk. Hey, everyone.
Yeah. I think we'll be the hero, a $500 afternoon boat ride, what do you got to do?
That's why we have that annual boat ride that we make everybody chip into, because that's the one day we can be hero and heroine with these two. But, yeah, great memories that we make for that. Well, everyone, if you're living in the Northern Hemisphere, enjoy these summer days. If you're in the heat, I wish you cool. If you're in the flood zones and recovering, I wish you sunshine with the waters receding. And I hope everyone is safe and taking care of themselves through the weather extremes that we seem to be having on the planet right now.
I hope.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember, get your forecasting webinars on the forecasting webinars page of the site. Just posted Aries Libra and the Venus retrograde Leo. So catch up as we go into this new moon phase. And until next time, we'll see you on the Star Lady Soul Reader Network. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.